There is a new way through which you can reduce your token usage by 75% in Claude Code. And this is all over the internet right now. There is a new repository called Caveman that reduces the amount of tokens that you use while using Claude Code by 75%. This reduces your output tokens by 75% and input by 46%. But that's all internet and that is all on X. In this video, we are gonna test it out, how this works, and if this actually makes that kind of impact for your repositories. The first thing is just checking out how this works. Before using this is the kind of output that you get from Claude. It explains everything in detail. It even uses filler words. But when you use this skill, your Claude Code starts talking like a caveman. It just uses words after another that make sense to computer, but it does not make sense to you and me or anyone using Claude Code. And this is definitely very smart, but it does not end there. This has multiple modes which defines how much token you are saving. There is a light mode which reduces the number of tokens that your Claude uses by a small extent. Then there is a full mode where there are no filler words in the conversations at all. And then there is a ultra mode where it stops using words and starts using symbols wherever it makes sense to convey what it wants to say. And finally, there is a Benyan mode. This is basically all of these three modes, but in Chinese. So Chinese is a superior language when it comes to conveying what you want to do. That's why when you use Chinese along with Claude Code, the number of tokens that you're using reduces drastically. And this is actually genius if you think about it. And all of this was created by a 19-year-old who's still in the second year of his college. So if this works out, this is surprisingly genius. So let's start with this. For this video, I'm gonna run a small test. I'm gonna create a chat-based interface, which is a CR7 confidence coach. So basically, go to this chatbot, which talks like CR7 to you, and it also uses GIFs to communicate what it wants to say. So this is a fun one-pager web app that we can create quickly with this. And our major objective is to test how much difference does using Caveman actually makes. So right now, if I check my Claude usage, I am at 65%. I'm actually at 66%. And my usage will reset in 1 hour 39 minutes. I think we would be able to build both the versions before that reset happens. So we are at 66% and it's 3:51 p.m. on 12th of April. So let's get started. First thing I will do is I will copy this entire prompt and I will open up a new chat session. I will create a new folder. So I will create a new folder within my main repository and I will call this folder CR7 bot. When I do that, within that, I will create another folder where I will call it without caveman so that we know this is the output where we are not using this repository. And along with that, I will also create another folder. This folder would be with caveman. So let's keep it within CR7 and let's create the second folder, which is with caveman. And now we have both the folders. We'll start with without caveman version of it. I'll select the plan mode and I will use Sonnet 4.6 and medium effort for creating this. So I will drop this entire prompt and I will let it come up with the entire app. So first it will make a plan on how it wants to create it and then it will create the app. Along with this, I will also start a new chat session. In this chat session, I will use the Haiku model. And all I want to do here is I want to install the Caveman skills. So I will select the auto accept edits mode and I will go within the folder that we just created, which is with Caveman. So over here, we would be installing the Caveman skill and then we'll be seeing that how much impact it makes. But before getting into it, we will first let it build the entire app without using Caveman. And we will see that how much tokens it is using for doing that. So it has created the entire plan for creating the app and it used 4% of the usage for doing it. Let's approve this and it will start coding. At this point, let's wait a couple of minutes for it to build the entire app. Meanwhile, if we come on to the next steps of how we install this skill, you can do this by installing this plugin. So this is the entire command that you have to use for installing this plugin. So I will just copy this and I will come back to the new session that we created and I will mention we want to install this skill, but make sure we are using it only in this specific folder so that it does not install this skill globally. We want to use it within this folder for now before we are sure of what results it gives us. And it has came up with the final app. So let's open this on a browser. So this is the final app. This has a GIF on top of it, and let's start using it. So the first thing is it starts with welcome, Ronaldo's here. I have 900 plus gold, 5 Ballon d'Ors. I've conquered everything. So Messi cannot do this talk. Okay, interesting. First thing is I will ask it for some life advice. How do I wake up early? And let's see if it is generating the responses correctly. So it also came up with a GIF, which is nice. You struggle to wake up early, and that is a small battle with a big ego. And it does not give you a response where it talks about how Ronaldo do all of those things. And that is precisely what we wanted within this app. So that is done. Now let's try to create this entire thing with Caveman and how much tokens we use there. So now we will go back to this new session where we are doing this with Caveman. First thing is we will install this plugin which helps us using Caveman, and then we will copy the same prompt. But before this, on top of it, I will mention that we want to use Caveman Venyan Ultra mode, and I will just copy this entire thing. Now I see that the skill is installed. But before getting into it, one thing I missed checking is that how much usage we actually used. So we started at 66% and now we are at 82%. So a total of 16% usage was used while building this without Caveman. And I assume that with using Caveman, this should be at least lesser than 18%. So let's get started with that. So first thing is I will open up a new chat session yet again, and I will select with Caveman folder here, and I will start with the plan mode and we will select Sonnet 4.6. So that the process is exactly the same. And then I will drop the prompt. So let it create the plan and then the final app. So we are at 82%. We started with 66. So a total of 16% usage. We used around 4% for creating the plan and another 12% for building the entire app. If we expect it to give the results as mentioned in this repository, it should use 75% less usage. So if we use 16 tokens in that case, it should use only 4 to 5% tokens in this case. But I don't expect it to happen like that. The reason why I think that is because every time when you're using a skill, some of your input tokens are utilized by that skill itself because those instructions are sent to Claude every time. And that would reduce the effectiveness of this entire process. Let's see how this goes. So it has came up with the entire plan. I will just approve it and I will let it build the rest of the app. Meanwhile, if I refresh the usage, I see that it has used 5% of the usage for building the plan itself. So this is comparable. I don't see a difference over here. Let's see how much difference there is in building the actual app. So it wrote something in Chinese and I'm not sure if it is still working on the app or not. So let's type in continue so that we know it's still working on the app or if it has came up with an output. I don't see any preview yet because it has not created the app yet. So let's wait while it does that. And now I see that it finally came up with the app. So I will just copy this link and I will open this in a new tab. The app is working standalone. I will drop another question here. Hey, how do I become a goat like you? And let's send this. So it is coming up with the response. Uh, in terms of the time that it took to build the app, it was almost similar. So I don't expect a difference in token usage. But let's go back and check our Claude usage. And now we are at 98%. So it used technically 11% of our usage from them. So that takes the total to 16%, which was exactly the same that we got without using the caveman skill. So practically it made no difference. And that's why it does not make sense to keep using this skill at all. This seems to be a fancy PR tactic and something that got people likes on Twitter. That's why it got more and more coverage from people, but this is not a skill that I will keep using. Do let me know what are the results that you got with this repository, and also let me know what are the other skills or repositories you would want me to explore. That's all for this video. If you like this video, do subscribe to the channel. That motivates me to create more content like this, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.